I hate to break the fishing news up, Chuck, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down,
Yep.
All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Welcome in, episode 179 of the Real Life Podcast. I'm Tyler Yaremchuk. No Chalmers this week. So if you're a diehard Chalmers fan, I'm sorry to break that news to you right off the start of the podcast, but Bag Milk's here, Wanye's back, Jay is in as well. There's a lot we were getting to. You guys said, right before we started actually recording, you mentioned a bit of a celebrity follow back you got on Instagram, Bag Milk. I got something earlier this week or over the weekend. Gaetan Haas accepted my follow request. He has a private account. So I am in with my boy Gaetan Haas now, which is very, very exciting.
You can't hate him anymore now, Chuck. You're boys.
Man, I love Gaetan Haas. He's probably my favorite Oiler this year.
Interesting.
One of those Oilers that 5 years from now, you're probably going to look back and be like, holy shit, do you remember Gaetan Haas? And that's actually a topic we're going to get to a little bit later in the podcast. But Bag Milk, you mentioned a funny celebrity following.
Yeah, Chris Pronger and his wife have a travel company of some kind, and they follow me on Instagram.
Shameful.
Yeah.
You should block them.
Well-Inspired Adventures or something like that.
What's it called? Uninspired Ventures?
Something like that.
It's horrible. Everybody should go look, make a disgusted noise like, ugh, and then not follow.
It's like they do really pretentious-looking trips as well. It's actually quite funny to follow along with.
It's like, and then they're like photos in resorts always. Like, we were at the sunset dinner last night, and my wife beat the waiter to death with her shoe because he dared look her in the eye while filling her champagne flute.
There's a lot of that. There's
garbage
everywhere.
Do you still really hate Chris Pronger, Wanya?
I hate Lauren Pronger.
Okay.
Chris Pronger was exactly who we thought he'd be, wasn't he, Jay?
Oh, he was magic on ice.
He was everything we needed him to be until his wife wasn't cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm looking at their Instagram feed right now. It looks like yesterday they provided 33 good habits to start while you're working from home. So not only are they traveling.
How are the comments to that type of shit? Are people here for it, or are they not wanting to hear this stuff?
There is one comment, and it just says, great list.
Yeah. Classic.
I love your gallery. Let's do a collab. DM me. Let's flip some money.
Yeah.
I laughed, Jay, the other day when you were talking to the guy who wants to be the first millionaire in their family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that's the play now. Rather than delete them, is like really warmly like, thank you very much. What type of opportunity are you looking for?
Engage them.
The bots are out.
The bots are out in full. Like I have a small Instagram account for Frank. Like it's mostly, to be honest, for my mom. She loves seeing pictures of Frank, so I have an Instagram account for him, and nonstop, daily, I get multiple bots DMing, being like, "I have got an opportunity for you and your dog." So I have replied to a couple of them before, and basically they just want to give you a promo code to shop at their online store. Really.
That's always the play now, though. Every celebrity is just pushing promo codes. Maybe that's something Frank could start doing. Start paying some of the bills.
Maybe. But you wouldn't want to know from Lauren Pronger and co. what sleeping position is the best for you?
I really don't.
That's so easy. I already said a mean thing about Lauren not being cool, and your Remchuk went, whoa. I can't even touch that joke.
Actually, I went whoa because I saw Chris Chalmers pop up in the podcast after I started the show by telling all the listeners that if they're fans of Chalmers, you're going to be disappointed because he's not here. He comes through for the people.
I'm a huge fan of Chalmers.
It's a house party poppin'.
I just left, man. I just left where it was. I had enough. So I'm here.
You scoundrel.
Please expand.
I was in a meeting. Didn't want to be in anymore.
And you
I wasn't liking the answers I was getting, so I left.
And you said, guys, I got to go record a podcast in my truck. I'm out.
I just said, guys, you guys figure this out, and when I get back, it better be better than it is right now.
Holy fuck.
Heavy. So now
heavy duty.
Now I'm sitting in my office, the place where I used to smoke cigarettes when I would feel like this. But I can't. So now I just sit here. And now I'll talk to you guys.
You sit here and stew in your anger and do a podcast.
Pretty much. How are you guys doing? Hey, what were you guys talking about? Somebody traveling, and then what the mentions were like, what the comment section was like.
Are you saying you're not well versed with Well-Inspired Travels, luxury travel by Lauren and Chris Pronger, curating travel for elite athletes and friends?
Oh no, they're doing this right now.
Always.
Absolutely, that is where they're at, buddy.
I see. Is that kind of like a deal where they own properties and then you go stay at them, or they?
No, I think it's more like they just go around traveling and write it off by doing some nominal blog work.
They're lifestyle bloggers.
And since they can't travel right now, Chalmers, you might be interested in their video that went up on April 21st called "How to Take a Beautiful Bath."
What?
God, and where is it filmed?
Is it hold Lauren underwater until she stops thrashing? I'm sorry. It's 2006 talking. Oh, mercy. Imagine Lauren Pronger had never been born. Chris Pronger would still have been an Oiler, and he would have remained an Oiler.
And we might not have gotten Connor, though.
No. Valid. Maybe we owe Lauren Pronger a thank you.
Might be the best
Suddenly,
thing that ever happened to us.
Lauren Pronger delivered Connor into our lap. This is the butterfly effect, boys. That's why we can't have time travel. It's too fucking complicated.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can watch a video on Well-Inspired Travels. Everything the Pronger family is watching until they're able to travel again.
Bag Milk, you should go on
God,
their
I'd
site.
like Lauren to have to watch the game fucking one of the Stanley Cup Finals where his stupid husband scored the penalty shot, pumped his arm, and 20-something Wanye pre-committed to a Stanley Cup tattoo, you bitch.
Bag Milk, you should go on their site and go through the process and try to book a trip to Edmonton through her.
Ooh, a luxe trip to Edmonton.
Or hit them up and be like, do you want to sponsor our podcast?
Yes.
They
I
should
don't
sponsor
understand
the
what
pod.
these two are doing. Okay, so you can book trips through them,
I don't know.
and then
You call Lauren Pronger, and you go, hey, Lauren, why would you have made Chris leave Edmonton after 2006? And then you yell at her until she hangs up, and then you email them your Venmo, and you pay for your trip.
So basically, from what I can tell here is I tried to click the book a trip tab on their website, and all that pops up is a contact me form. So maybe you just kind of tell her where you want to go, and then she books it through Expedia for you, maybe. I guess. I don't know.
That's all it is. She's a middleman to the middleman.
Expedia Platinum.
Yeah.
This is your classic vanity project for a woman who is so busily employed ruining our city. Oh.
Very angry today, Wanye, which is
Buddy, it's
good, I
just
guess.
Lauren Pronger and just 2006. These are my two buzzwords. No.
I'll change the topic then. Something interesting that just came up as we started recording. TSN's Ryan Rashog tweeted out some potential tweaks to the NHL game from a medical expert that would allow play during a pandemic. Rashog says he had a conversation with an infectious disease specialist about ways to reduce the risk of the virus during play.
What is sports reporting?
Exactly. But okay, here are the ideas. I want you guys to let me know what you think of these. 1, all players must wear full face shields, potentially even modified to reduce the spread of droplets of sweat. No fighting allowed. They would tell players, this one's hilarious, no scrums after whistles, so linesmen don't have to break anything up. Coaches would be social distanced on the bench and wearing face masks. And on face-offs, all wingers would have to stay 2 feet apart instead of crossing sticks. And they would say no spitting.
I would rather not have hockey than watch that.
So basically, what they're trying to institute is slot hockey, but a real life version.
What did you say? What?
Slot hockey.
That's not what I heard.
Well, that's part of my OnlyFans account. You can subscribe anywhere.
That's slut hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Best $8 a month I've ever spent, Bag Milk. I'll tell you that.
First of all, so Ryan Rashog just talked to my auntie Karen. Apparently, she's an infectious disease specialist as well.
For real?
No, just now she is. Everybody's a fucking infectious disease specialist. So you're telling me that you're going to modify, the bubbles that guys wear, like full bubbles, on their mask. You can't modify that anymore. You cover that up anymore, and dudes ain't breathing. So I don't know what.
Or they won't be able to see.
That's all true.
You got to modify hockey to the point where it's not hockey at all.
Mm-hmm.
and then you can bring hockey back.
Or maybe we get such huge innovations in helmet technology to keep germs out of players' helmets in all pro sports, and they all wear weird Daft Punk type helmets around, and finally they solve concussion.
Can you imagine watching a playoff game with there's no way you wouldn't get a heated hockey game where as soon as the whistle goes, all the players are like, all right, 6 feet apart, everyone fuck off, get away from me.
Well, 90% of the hockey games we've watched in the last decade weren't heated, so that'll be all right. We'll be all right.
It doesn't matter. There's still tons of scrums. It seems like after every single little thing that happens, there's a scrum. And if guys don't have to have scrums anymore, imagine some of the shit they'll try to get away with. And then those masks, they'll be so foggy. I don't care what anti-fog spray somebody comes up with. There's just no way. And coaches are going to be standing with masks, trying to yell at players with masks, getting fumed. And
if one, God forbid, if they brought this shit back and one professional athlete passed away, the repercussions through the professional athlete community would be so severe, nobody would return.
Yeah.
Maybe they could consult our friends at Well Inspired Travels and their list of 9 products for germaphobes to bring on every trip.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that seriously a thing?
You know bubble hockey, Chalmers?
Of course.
This is what we need to do. We need to play real life fucking bubble hockey. And so you can go to the game, but there's a bubble around all the players.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, but it's not about but it's about how do you keep the players safe from each other. That's a whole different, like quarantining them all together.
You've just got to create the bubble. You need the bubble. You can't have all this fucking shit.
This is what guys,
Daft Punk helmets, man.
Nah. This is what guys tried to figure out in baseball. There was a couple different scenarios in baseball, and it was like doing basically a biodome in southern Phoenix, and it's like basically putting everybody in there, all 30 teams, plus trainers, plus coaches, plus officials, probably no media, and then just having like a season where they all play like at all these different. You'd be shocked at how many diamonds there are in like Phoenix alone. So they could play literally a season, all being in the same spot. That's quarantining them away from each other, like keeping them all together and not allowing new people into that.
Yeah.
That's the only way it works. And the only reason it wouldn't work because they talked to a number of players is they had to be away from their like families and shit for like 4 months. It was just them that could go, not their wives and kids, like just them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way. So go ahead.
To me, if you're gonna have to put in all like if wingers have to stand 2 feet apart on the face-offs and all this stuff, and everyone has to wear full face shields, and there's no scrums after the whistle, and there's penalties if you go into a scrum, like if we really need to stretch it that far, then let's just scrap the fucking thing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
No.
I agree.
Is anyone gonna fight me on that?
No.
Well, no, if that's what it has to be, then absolutely not. Yeah, I'm not allowed to fight.
It's all been canceled.
I can't see with my bubble on, but
the second part of this.
Did you guys? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Chalmers, because I was going to change the topic.
Well, I was too. I was going to change it to the UFC this weekend. Did anybody watch that?
Not really.
It was fantastic.
Oh.
It was so good. And I don't know if you knew this, but like on Thursday, so there was a whole bunch of shit about even that they shouldn't be going on with this. Didn't matter. UFC was doing it anyway. On Thursday or Wednesday even, one of the fighters tested positive for coronavirus. Could have shut the whole thing down. They didn't. They just threw out that fight and they kept going. And it was fantastic. Exact same shit. The best part about it was that the guys, they didn't feed off the crowd, and therefore, because they were the only ones in the ring, and this was like, there was more respect in the fight. Like, nobody was disrespectful to each other, right? Like, after every round, no matter how bad you were getting beat, they seemed to want to touch gloves and stuff. But the fights were as good as could possibly be. The crowd was just blacked out, so you couldn't see anything, so it didn't even matter. But you could hear everything in the arena. You could hear every conversation everybody had, and it was so good.
Chalmers, I was reading about it a little bit on Twitter the other day, and some of the people that are UFC fans were talking about how the fights actually seemed more brutal than normal because you could actually hear a punch land without any crowd noise kind of muffling it.
Jesus Christ, that's gross.
When you heard, so in one of the main events, well, there was like a lot of main events. It was weird. This was a stacked card. But in one of the fights, they were the heavyweights. And these guys were like 6'5", and one was 6'2", about 235 to 250. And the one guy just kept kicking the other guy right behind the knee. And it sounded like somebody was trying to chop down an actual tree, or it was the loudest kick. Oh man, it was brutal. But it was like, you could also tell them not feeding off the crowd was making the fight less, like, I don't know, intense. When, you know how if a guy struck a guy with a really good one, the crowd would all go, oh, and then it would force, that guy would be like, oh, something, I must have really got him good, and then go after him. Well, if he just kind of hit him, it's not like they didn't, I don't know, they seemed like they were a little more reserved, and that the crowd could have played a bigger role in getting the fights to be a lot more aggressive, but they were still such good fights. And just the whole atmosphere around it. The card girl just sat in a chair by herself, would get up, walk around the ring, go back and sit in this chair by herself in the middle of like nothing. And it was
She's the real hero in all this.
It was weird, but it was like, I mean, I was on my bookie. I was betting with people at the house. It was awesome.
Well, it just shows you the importance. It just shows you the importance of getting sports back. Because like my social media timeline was just flooded with all the love and people caught up in this in the fights on Saturday. So it just shows you like how important it is to have this stuff back.
I can't wait to see the numbers it did for pay-per-view views.
Oh yeah,
it was pay-per-view.
Oh yeah. Well, so the prelims were all on TSN, but then the final, I think 4 fights. There was like 8 fights altogether. 4 of them were on TSN, and 4 of them were on pay-per-view. So it was pretty good. $75 a pop.
Oh. You mentioned how many people were talking about this, Jay, and I think that is a bit of an underlying motivation for the 4 main leagues. And I mean, exclude the NFL, obviously, because their season can't get going right now. But the other 3, the first sport back gets all the eyeballs. Like, you want to talk about growth of the NHL and growth of hockey. If the NHL is the first thing back, everyone is watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility to be the first one back too.
Well, they're having problems.
A lot of reward.
Have you been following the German?
UFC had a guy have coronavirus 2 days out from the event.
It's not a team
and they
sport.
figured it out, and the show still went on.
It's a lot easier to put on one pay-per-view fight every week or 2 weeks than like the last 30 games of a regular season and playoffs. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, the UFC got it up, but the difficulty level was a lot lower in what they were trying to do than what baseball, basketball, and hockey are up against, because it's those 3. Those 3 are in a race right now, and the one that seems like it's the most, baseball seems like it's going to happen. I mean, I don't think there's a chance baseball doesn't happen. They've got some more time to play with than the NBA and the NHL, but I just don't see the NHL coming out before the NBA. And I feel like the NHL, in my personal view, it's like the NHL sitting there waiting for the NBA to tell them how they're going to do it. And then they're just going to be like, hey, we'll do it that way too. Or like, let us know how you're doing it. Because, I don't know. The NHL, I haven't heard a peep from them. Not a thing. Yet I hear things about the NBA every second day. So who knows?
Because you don't like hockey.
Yeah, first of all, Chalmers, it's because you're the biggest NBA fan in the fucking world. And you can't have a fucking second go by without thinking about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh,
yeah, they were about to win it. They were about to win a championship this year.
You're livid. Are they really? I picked a team at random.
No. They got the best. They got one of the best players in the league.
Oh.
You should watch the 60 Minutes on them.
The best story about them.
I will not.
The best story, buddy.
You'll be a fan.
Dude,
Chalmers.
Sports documentaries are the best. And that's a 60 Minutes. So it's even better.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Chalmers
right
what? Chalmers
well,
what?
you love the NBA, so you're super into the NBA. That's the first
love
thing I know.
sports. I'm not super into the NBA.
You love the NBA. You don't love the Oilers, but you love the NBA. Anyway, neither here nor there. Listen, they were trying to open up the German soccer league. Which one? The Bundesliga or some shit.
Bundesliga.
And it was going to be one of the first ones to come back. And then one team had a bunch of people test, and they had to kick them out of the league, and then the whole thing stopped.
Yeah.
And the guy in charge of the English Premier League said reopening may be beyond our capacity.
Yeah.
That's what I'm watching is the Premier League because they have the most money in play.
Oh yeah, well the Korean League's going, and Korea's kind of opening up, and it's not going well. Like if you open up, you have to expect things are going to progress negatively. That there are going to be more positive tests.
But they've opened up. Like they've got nightclubs though. Like they're like nightclubs are open.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, well, they quickly shut.
They quickly closed those down. Yep.
Did you hear that stat that they say that how many people? 400 people could have been affected by one guy that went to a nightclub.
Yeah, he was like bouncing around clubs or something like that.
I had coronavirus. I'd be club hopping too. Shit.
But
my first move would be go Korean
right?
nightclub hopping if I was let out of my pandemic. To Seoul.
Yeah, but okay. So Korean baseball going on right now. Like, yeah, I'm sure they're watching that and shit. I'm sure they're doing that. But I just don't. Man, I don't know. Let's all say. Do we think we see sports before September? Anybody?
Oh, well,
do.
Are you asking my head or are you asking my heart?
No, your head, because my heart wanted it back 2 weeks ago. So I don't give a shit what your heart wants. Everybody wants sports back. What does your head think?
Oh, I'm still holding out for hockey in July.
I say yes, but it's going to be golf.
Golf will be back. They have that. They have the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady versus Tiger and Tiger and one of them. I don't know. And Phil Mickelson thing coming up. Like golf, I think is another kind of easy one. They all fly private in anyways. They all get their own hotel rooms anyways.
They never touch each other. That's what she said.
They never touch each other.
You don't have the crowd. They're already walking the course. I mean, the broadcast would obviously have to look different because you wouldn't have as many people able to be there, but I think golf could do it.
You could wear a mask easy.
When it comes to the four major sports leagues, though, like golf and UFC, I think it's expected that they'll be back sooner than anything else. When it comes to the four Chalmers and if they'll be back before September, I think baseball will. I'd say there's like an 85% chance that baseball comes back and is playing games by July 4th. With hockey and the NBA, I would honestly say right now it's maybe 60-40, like 60% chance that they do play by July. Like there's so much money at stake. Places in the States are slowly starting to reopen. Some local governments are starting to become okay with practice facilities open up. We saw it in Toronto. So I'll say there's a better than 50-50 chance, but I wouldn't say it's like a slam dunk at all that either hockey or basketball are back by July. To me, like if I was the NHL, I've always been a proponent of the league starts too late already. If I was the NHL, I would be starting my training camps the last week of August. I'd be starting the regular season by September 15th or 20th, and I'd have my Stanley Cup handed out before June. And I almost wouldn't mind if they took this as an opportunity to sort of reset that clock a little. Cancel this season, start next season in September.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I know. I think we'll see baseball. I think we'll see baseball in like June, July, maybe end of June, July. Football will do fucking everything that is in its power to play, and I think that we'll see a season, even to the point where I don't know if any of you guys care about this, but on Thursday they let out the schedule. They released the NFL schedule, and it was a 3-hour show on ESPN.
Yeah, of course it was.
It was amazing, and they did what's so funny because they do this like win. Everybody's record was known by Friday because they go through and it's like, okay, week 1, we got Miami versus New England. And they're like, oh, that's a win for Miami. And so it's just one of the funniest things in the world because, 3 hours on a schedule release. But baseball, June, July, football will come back. I mean, there's too much to lose there. And I just don't see hockey and basketball coming back this year. Just don't. And when football comes back, that's when basketball and hockey will be like, okay, new season, we don't have a championship. Or I still think that they could just straight up, like, wasn't it somebody said that they should do like this 1 month in like September, just playoff Stanley Cup, and then give them off like October and go straight into the season in November? Is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah, but I don't know why I heard that idea of just bring back like only 8 teams or only like 4 teams, but then you're putting such an asterisk on the Stanley Cup that it's like,
oh, huge.
Why even fucking do it?
Yeah, I would take it as well.
I would be parading nude down Jasper Ave.
Okay, but
with a mask on, I would hope, good sir.
If it's the top
I'd
eight,
tattoo
the
that
Oilers aren't
asterisk
in
on
it.
my. I'd tattoo
What
that
le-
asterisk on me.
What level do you think? Does anybody know of the level that managers and coaches are going to check in with all 20 whatever on an NHL roster on like how dudes are doing, like how they're keeping healthy, like if they're like how guys are?
Oh yeah, I bet you on the regular.
Have we heard anything about this? Like nothing's
Well, they
come
wouldn't
out where they're
report
like,
on it.
oh, like.
Well, I mean, this was a while ago now, but when Dave Tippett did his conference call through Zoom, this was about a month ago or so, he talked about checking in with guys on a weekly basis. So they are checking in, but Leon Draisaitl just did a chat with Darren Dreger a couple of days ago, and he says that obviously you can't replicate an NHL-style workout from your house when you don't even have a gym. So there's going to be some guys, like I'm looking at you, Phil Kessel, that's probably put on, a baker's dozen here.
30?
Yeah.
There was a video of Joe Thornton, I think, a week or two ago, and he did not look like an NHL player in that
Are you talking
video.
about when
I don't think he ever did.
Yeah, fair.
Is it when his
The
beard
beard
disappeared?
disappeared,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
He
It was
looked
that
pretty good. I didn't think he looked that bad. I stared at him
Yeah,
for a
man,
good
if I look
45
like-
minutes before bed.
How old is he?
40
100?
2, 43.
103?
Oh. I've never looked as good as he do, and I'm younger than him still.
Joe Thornton turns 41 in July.
Well,
Do you want to hear a funny story about Joe Thornton, Chalmers?
yes, always.
My cousin lives in San Jose, and she's a massive Senators fan, like as hardcore as they come. And her kid goes to school with Joe Thornton's kid.
Oh,
And like,
cool.
what's that?
Cool. I like that.
Yeah. And like nobody in California gives a shit, right? Like everybody in San Jose that cares is a Canadian transplant.
Yeah.
And so my cousin sees Joe Thornton at school and refuses to say anything to him and like stares at him during the Christmas concert creepily and shit, right? And then she's like one day going to pick her kid up and there's a guy backing out of the door or something. And he backs right into her. And she's like, hey, what the hell? And the guy's like, oh, I'm super sorry. And looks at her. She's like, that's okay, Joe Thornton. And called him by his full name. And then was super embarrassed and then wouldn't get out of her car to pick her kid up after that.
Really?
Go Sharks.
What?
That's the end of that story.
You can't be embarrassed about that. Shit,
Oh,
people
it's
get
hilarious.
weird around celebrities, around NHLers.
Never saw our kid again.
Never saw our kid again.
No, just left.
That was the end of that.
Well, did you know? So we were talking. Remember how we were talking about greatest memories from when we were kids?
Yeah.
About hockey or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
My sister reminded me of how I totally forgot about probably the greatest thing that ever happened in my life, and that was when I was 8 years old. My mom was an assistant general manager at the golf course at the country club, and a lot of the Oilers were members there. And she decided she was going to throw a barbecue one night, and she was very like outgoing, and she invited everybody. She was friends with everybody there. She invited Mark Messier and Craig McTavish and Steve Smith and a bunch of the other guys. And straight up, Craig McTavish and Mark Messier came to the barbecue.
Wow.
They came to my house when I was 8 years old, yeah, and I was playing blackjack with him on his hands. That's how big his hands were.
How on earth does your mom have the fucking chutzpah to invite the Oilers over?
So at that time, Wayne Gretzky had the Wayne Gretzky Golf Classic at the Country Club. It happened from 85 to 88, and my mom organized it with him, and like with the pro shop, like with the club pro there too. So she knew them. When you were a member there, you had to sign up as a member there. She did it all. So the first person you ever met when you went to that place was my mom, and she was basically like she toured you around and she signed you up, and you guys then every time you had to pay your bill, you came in there, and back then you were like paying it with like the MasterCard that you go back and forth on the machine. You put them in the machine with like the little carbon copy thing, and you back and forth it, and so. Yeah,
I remember, Chalmers, that's the first time I ever heard about you in my life, was going through that sign-up process with your mom.
What?
Yeah. And I was like 14 or 15 coming to the course as a junior. And my mom drove me in, right? And I got it in my head that I wanted to go out there. I can't even remember why. I played 1 year in Victoria, and I was like, time to go pro. And the next move is to go to a fancy golf course, right? And in those days, junior memberships were still reasonable. And I delivered the Examiner. and that's how I paid for it. And I remember going out there and sitting in the sign-up process and insisting I sign everything myself. And your mom being like to my mom, like, no, we need an adult to sign. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm paying. And then I remember asking her straight up, are there any other little kids here? And she was like, yes, my son's about your age. I'm sure you'll run into him and his friends out here. They're very loud. That's what she said. And I was like, what a bunch of fucking losers.
Lo and behold, that's how we met.
Fast forward 26 years, and we're on this podcast together. Well done.
Yeah. That was fun.
But your mom is best friends with Wayne Gretzky, and they came over and played blackjack with you as a child, and that's so non-monumental, you forgot the story.
Yeah. It wasn't Wayne Gretzky. My mom helped Wayne Gretzky with a golf tournament.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Craig McTavish and Mark Messier. And he pulled up. It was funny because
just two
my mom,
Oilers captains were at your house playing blackjack with you.
I don't know how I forgot. I mean, it was cool. And so I spent the $1 like immediately. I don't know. I was a dumb kid. But I remember when my mom said that he was coming, he called the house and was like, hey, Cheryl, anything I can bring? And she said, no, just come on over. And he brought a bottle of Dom Perignon.
Yes.
And pulled up in his 911 black Targa or whatever. I think it was a Targa because it was a convertible.
Who's this? Mess doing this?
Messier. Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah. Damn right.
Black
That's my
Targa.
captain.
Oh, yeah. So, and then my sister ended up babysitting for Craig McTavish. And Kelly Buckberger.
Man, if you were like 10 years older, your sister could have married one of them.
If I was 10 years older, I'd have been going to Barry Tees with them.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that have been fun? And yeah, my sister was, I don't know, she was young, but later on when she was like 16, 17 years old, they were protective of her at that point. They wouldn't let any of the other players talk to her.
Yeah, good. Gentlemen.
Yeah, because McTavish always came back here in the summer, and
they were all gentlemen in those days. I just saw a photo the other day on Facebook, and it was a bartender from the Grinder, which isn't what a grinder is now. It was a bar back in the day. And he was fucking holding the cup over his head in broad daylight. And he's like, yeah, your Oilers used to come in here and party after cup wins. And there's a photo of Kevin Lowe in the background walking around with like a sick windbreaker on. And I'm looking at this photo and I'm like, what time of day is this? Like, it's the middle of the day, or it's the beginning of the day, and it's 5 p.m. Either or. They did live a life. No cameras in sight, no social media in sight.
And like what they were wearing was like super cool, even though, like I told you guys when I watched the Back Boys on the Bus recently, when that guy dropped the DVDs off, they look ridiculous, and they're like the coolest of the cool. And they like, it's almost like they just didn't give a shit. They're wearing like the worst trench coats, like that you would dress up as like a pedophile and like for Halloween. That's the kind of trench coat you would wear.
Chalmers, this gets back to my theory. Maybe you can weigh in on this. People get better looking every decade. Like if you took the average game, just overall, like we look at ourselves more. We have cosmetic surgery, the fashion industry, like the styles might change, but like if you look at the average person, how horrific looking they were 30 years ago, I think they're getting better with time because people put more effort in.
I absolutely agree. And people putting more effort in, but you don't want to know my theory on this.
Go on. Do go on. It's a podcast.
Attractive people are more likely to have sex, correct?
I would hope.
Potentially.
Wow. Allegedly, in your opinion?
So what, you think going with it? Ugly people are dying off because they're not fucking?
I didn't
That's
say
your
that.
conclusion?
No. I'm just saying that like maybe they have more trouble finding their soulmate, and then maybe they have maybe they have less time to have kids.
I'm going to go ahead and say that is not.
So ugly people have no souls, is what you think?
No.
That's what you're saying.
Not what I said.
With 12 listeners listening.
No, but here,
you're
listen,
not ugly as fuck. What are we talking about?
I'm not. I was just trying to do that thing where I like deflect from. Maybe that.
You're M-Chuck. You're M-Chuck.
Yeah.
Help.
You need me to steer this conversation back to something that's not.
What's going on?
Chalmers is talking about his look.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't.
You want to hit us with an ad, your M-Chuck? Now's the time.
I do want to hit you with an ad. I want to let you know that all the people who work at Japa Machinery are beautiful people. And I promise
we just
you
let Chalmers paint himself into a corner, and Japa's going to dig him out.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good line.
Thank you.
The folks at Japa are so good looking that there will be generations and generations of Japa employees to come.
Listen to me, you son of a bitch. My sister's married to one of the people at Japa. If you're saying she's going to have a bunch of sex and ergo kids, you can stop that ad right there.
I'm going to continue the ad and just go to the point that Japa has been doing some great work to give back to the community. We love our friends over at Japa. Go check them out. Japa Machinery Group, japaequipment.com. We're always tagging them on the socials as well. So if you follow us on Instagram, make sure you go follow Japa as well. They might not be here next week after that awful ad read. So thanks for the setup.
Japa earmuffs.
And from our friends at Well Inspired Travels, it's not selfish to love yourself. So if you are a horrible looking person, maybe consider loving yourself.
Let me tell you about ads. I was watching an old Joe Rogan the other day, and he was presented without irony by the Fleshlight. And him and his two guys on the podcast, this is about episode like 80. They legitimately sat there for 5 minutes talking about Fleshlight.
What do you mean you're watching it?
You can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
Oh.
The early ones don't have video, but they're pretty hilarious because they're crappy.
And how did they break down the Fleshlight? Did they actually say they had used it?
Yeah.
Come on.
They're like, we all got them, and this is what it's like. And the one guy's like, oh, it wasn't that bad at all. And I was like, wow, we're not nearly as bad as this.
Well, maybe we
I had a buddy who got one.
We should sit here and talk about the different construction equipment that Japa has and all the heavy-duty equipment that they offer. Talk about how much we use that. Maybe they need to send us some.
I had a buddy who had a Fleshlight, and he put it in the dishwasher.
Oh.
That's awful.
It melted.
Yeah, didn't you straight warm it up?
It straight melted.
I couldn't see any scenario less degrading on your own self than when you have to clean that baby out.
Oh.
You put it in the dishwasher.
You set your house on fire and walk away.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's like when Joe Thornton backs into you and you.
Hi, Joe Thornton.
Yeah.
Look at my
Call him
fleshlight.
by his full name.
Can you imagine if you just wore your fleshlight around in public as a fashion accessory?
Like as a necklace?
Yeah, it's like a bikini for your dink. Like you can barely see anything.
All right.
Chalmers, thoughts?
Okay.
People don't have
I'm not giving any more thoughts.
You're
I'm giving my last thoughts, so no. I'm scared now.
A pet store sent me a foot cleaner for dogs that looks like a fleshlight.
Oh, there you go.
Oh God, you're Remchuk.
Do you want me to do the thing now?
No, we'll bring it around. Don't.
One sec. I forgot I have this power. I can just mute everyone and give it like a hard, like you're restarting a computer. You hold the mute button for 5 seconds, and then I come back and everyone's nice and quiet.
When you don't intervene, this is where it goes.
This is the show.
You're asking me to give like natural segues to talk about fleshlights
Not
and
even
Chalmers.
natural. Forced intervention. Force majeure.
Okay, on Mondays we like to take.
Force majeure is?
We like to take questions from the listeners.
Oh.
And we got this one. It ties in nicely. It's from Surveyor Brett. Ties in nicely to the talk we were having earlier about.
Do we only have one listener for crying out loud?
We have 12 listeners, you fool. Listen to the early thing.
Surveyor Brett was given a set of rules that men's league hockey leagues would have to abide by if they wanted to start up their league again. So I want Chalmers and Jay, I want to get your guys' take on this because I know you guys play men's league. So the rules would be players would be asked to home dress as much as possible. You could arrive. Oh yeah, giddy up. You would be asked to arrive no more than 15 minutes before your game. There would be
I do that anyway.
There would be 2 dressing rooms per team to allow for maximum distancing between players. You would not be allowed to shower after the game. You would have to be out of your locker room within 15 minutes. And there'd be 45 minutes between games, so rink attendants can sterilize the whole arena. Refs would have masks and electronic whistles as well. Chalmers, Jay, if those were kind of the rules set up to go play beer league hockey again, like no beers in the room after, you get in, you play your hockey, you go home, would you still do it?
So there's oxymorons all over the place here, or contradicting points. You're going to space us out in 2 dressing rooms, but then cram us together on the bench.
Yeah, I guess.
So why don't we just skip the step and just say back to one dressing room? If we're already crammed on the bench, we may as well yeah. I want to play hockey. I fucking miss playing hockey, but there's also elements around playing hockey I also enjoy.
Why do you miss playing hockey? I only miss playing hockey for two reasons. Number one.
Well, that's what I was getting to before you rudely interrupted me. You good-looking motherfucker. Let the ugly people speak. I miss playing hockey, but it's the after game beers and banter. You know, when you've got the opposing the next game knocking on your dressing room door, begging for you to leave, but you refuse because you're having too much fun in the room with your buddies, which is a huge element of it. Because that's for me. That's where that's like the only time for the most part where I see my friends. So it would be tough. It would be tough.
Oh, 100%. I literally before the game and after the game are the only two things I really like about the hockey. Sure, I like getting a little bit of exercise, but the actual hockey, man, I played a lot of hockey in my life. I could give or take the feeling of scoring a goal, or I still like winning. I still like winning championships if we ever do that again. But it's seeing my friends, the connection once or twice a week. And so if they totally limit all that, and I'm just going there to play hockey, and I have to drive there in my half gear, I think the half gear is a non-starter for me.
Oh, and
there's
the non-shower.
Showing up. Oh my God, there's guys showing up in fucking with their skates and skate guards, guaranteed, dressing in the parking lot. They'd be scared. Yeah, no, I don't think I would go back. They offered at the place that we play the league. They put out two scenarios, and they said, "Would you want this one or this one?" And everybody, I think, voted to just don't even start the season. Nobody's coming. There's no way that you guys can do this. What's the point?
Yeah, the league I play in offered us you could play in a single elimination summer tournament, or they'll give you $750. And I was like, that's an absolute no-brainer. Give me the cash. We got some other questions here, and actually I liked this one on Instagram, but I'm changing it a little bit. Let me just find the name. G Crispy on Instagram. He wanted to know who your favorite. He asked favorite goalie from the Decade of Darkness, but I'm opening up the question. Going back to the Decade of Darkness, all those years where you would have random fringe guys coming in and out of the Oilers, is there one no-name player from the Decade of Darkness that sticks in your brain that you go to and you're like, man, I loved that guy, even though he was terrible, even though the Oilers were terrible while he was here, but he kind of sticks in your brain. Bag Milk, I'll go to you first on this one.
Ryan Jones. I loved Ryan Jones. He had a couple of 18 goal seasons back to back or whatever, and then he hurt his eye or something happened to him, and he just kind of went away. But there was a couple years ago, I loved me some Ryan Jones.
Still a pretty popular jersey too around Rogers Place. Wanye, you said before we started recording that you had a good answer for this one.
Yeah, for sure. So, Chalmers, you think ugly people haven't been having sex for generations and they die widows, no sexual partners? Is that what you think?
That's not the moral of my story. You misread me. You misheard me. Communicated that point.
Favorite random Oiler who will have a hot spot in my heart forever is Nail Yakupov, man. I love Nail Yakupov. I think with a proper environment, I think he'd still be in the NHL.
Ska recently traded him.
To whomst?
A team I've never heard of in the KHL, but they're in Moscow.
I think the way that you, Jay, feel about Yessi is how I feel about Nail. He's your foreign fella that just couldn't quite find his way. I love Nail Yakupov. Remember how he bought that guy dinner or something when he was homeless? What a guy.
Did you see the video of Jesse Puljujärvi playing street hockey? And you're like, oh, he's wearing an Oilers toque, but then he's also wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins hoodie.
Yep, I saw that too.
Yeah. He still runs as Oilers shaving kit.
What?
I've seen my photos. I've got spies in Finland, and they're in dressing room at charity game, and he had his Oilers shaving kit in his stall.
It's pandemic, man. You can't be spending money on a new shaving kit.
Well, this is pre-pandemic.
I will not name names, and the story might fall down. But I remember a friend of ours who played professional hockey telling me a story about the team he played for making a big trade in the off season, and the guy wheeled in wearing gear from the other team. And they were like, dude, you have to take that shit off. Like, you're going to be on camera and stuff. And he was like, yeah, right. And then, like, the next day wore a different jacket in of his old team. And they were like, stop wearing it. And they realized that was basically all the clothes he had was his team gear.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Jay, do you have an answer? Jay, do you have an answer to the random Oiler from the Decade of Darkness that you love?
I've got kind of two. One who he had, because the one guy had a shelf life, so he would just kill it in preseason, and kill it. I mean, like, he'd get some points, but he'd run around and rock out, and then he would come play like 10 games, or 6 to 10 games into the season of playing that style, and then he would just wear out and turn into a piece of shit. But then restart the next season until we let him go, and that was Yessi Owensu.
Fuck,
Uncle Yessi.
I'm like, this is great. This is the type of guy we need. And like, he would play so physical, and then he just had a shelf life on playing like that, and then his body would just fail on him, and then he'd have to rebuild himself up for the start of the next season, and then it was rinse and repeat. And I'm like, oh, this guy could do this for 82 games straight. He would be just fantastic. He
is now playing with Jokerit Helsinki in the KHL.
I'm aware. I watched him in St. Petersburg. I'm still chasing him around.
Was he injured or was he producing?
Well, he was playing in St. Petersburg. So the St. Petersburg, so Ska and Jokerit owned by the same owner. And the unwritten rule is Jokerit never wins in St. Petersburg. But I challenged it, and I bet that game. I bet Jokerit to win at like 6-1, and the odds makers were right. My second one, and it's because I wish it went better because fucking we signed him. I was excited. Was Sheldon Surrey.
Ooh.
I love like fit big because he was a scary guy and he had a fucking cannon. And as a defenseman, me as a defenseman, that just resonated with me. So I loved the whole idea of him. And there was glimpses here and there of what he was. So Sheldon Surrey for me.
I remember when Sheldon Surrey came, I was like, this is a whole new chapter of the Oilers. And Sheldon Surrey is going to lead the charge.
Yeah. That was a big deal because like he was like the year before or the 2 years like leading up before he came here, like he was putting up points and putting fucking guys in their faces. Yeah.
And we needed defensive like output, and he came with that shot, and I remember it was a big fucking deal.
Local guy,
and also
I get excited.
And also they had that. If you remember that hilarious photo of Surrey, Cogliano, and Morrow naked in the dressing room.
Do I remember that photo?
Mm-hmm.
I had it painted on the roof of Wanye Manor like the fucking Sistine Chapel.
He actually had Surrey scored 26 goals the year before he came here. Got hurt that first season, but then the second season with the Oilers, man, he put up 53 points. Like he had a hell of a year.
Yeah.
So for a guy who wasn't here very long, he had that one successhear
It was a glimmer. Yeah, he was a glimmer of hope during the Decade of Darkness, and just kind of ended the shit because whatever you hear conflicting stories about him hurting himself, being forced back, blah 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 blah. Like it could have maybe ended better, but who knows? If it didn't, if it ended better, maybe we don't have Connor. So I'm just gonna always end with that caveat.
Sending Sheldon Surrey down and burying him in the minors was such a waste of resources.
Oh, touch of class, wasn't it?
And who was he down there with? Wasn't he with somebody else? Who was
he was loaned.
Yeah, he was loaned to the Hershey Bears.
And wasn't he playing with another $5 million man or some crazy shit they were saying?
Oh, Wade Wren would have been there.
Yeah, maybe. And between them, yes, that's what it was. Yeah,
they made more than like the entire American Hockey League, just the two of them.
Yeah,
that's got to be weird. Like when you're down in the American, there was one player that played out a huge contract in the A and was making like millions for years.
Wade Redden was making like $6.5 million playing in the American League for like 2.5 seasons.
That's yeah. And DiPietro.
Yeah.
Didn't Bobby Bonilla play in the AHL too?
Bobby Bonilla?
Good one.
Thank you.
Don't listen to him.
Chalmers, do you have an answer?
Drop an inside joke on a podcast.
Bobby Bonilla is a baseball player who retired 12 years ago and still gets paid $1 million a year in a contract that he negotiated.
And he will be for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
You never
And
heard this story, one yet?
The smartest negotiation of all time.
What?
So basically, Bobby Bonilla signed this massive deal with the New York Mets, and then it like fell apart.
In what year?
This would have been, I'm pulling up the exact dates right now.
Before the strike that cost the year or after?
He last took to the field in 2001. And when they cut up his contract, he basically negotiated that he would get $1.2 million every year until 2035 as a way for the Mets to like afford to pay out the rest of it.
Wow. If every player did that, they'd be set
Hell of
for
a
life.
pension. Hell of a pension.
That's actually genius.
It's genius. Yeah. He was Barry Bonds' right-hand man.
Okay,
They were like...
Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say
it's okay.
The last topic I...
No, you go first.
No, you go. You hang up.
The power of a FaceTime podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'd been starting to build up some momentum and start to really get the hang of these podcasts. Today has just been a shit show of us talking over each other. I feel bad for the listener.
There are no listeners.
The last question for today, I'm not sure if you guys saw, I know you did, Bag Milk, but Jerry Stiller passed away. He played the role, was most famous for the role of Frank Costanza on Seinfeld. I'm not sure if you guys were big Seinfeld fans. I was. I fucking love that show. I've seen it. Like, it's on Crave, so I usually just watch it front to back, and I've done it, I think, 3 times now. As far as, like, complimentary characters in a TV show, he's one of the best ever. Like, the banter between he and George and all that, it's perfect. But I want to know, is he the best complimentary character in TV history, or is there someone else that jumps to your mind, someone else on a sitcom or a TV show who isn't a main character, he isn't there every single episode, but you just love seeing him?
Oh, that's a tough one. I was trying to like go through like the great shows of time, and it's like, okay, who was that in Friends? And I'm like, the only thing I can think of is Putty.
Yeah, Putty's good. Or else,
but
I
like
mean,
he didn't have the staying power that George's dad did in terms of frequency. But like when he came on, he was legendary.
But as for like somebody who's on the show throughout its life, like Gunther was always funny when he came on. That one line that he would say was always a good one in the coffee shop in Friends. But like the best ever, man, oh man.
I was trying to think, like, name some shows. Like,
I know a guy who's my favorite, Monty Burns.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say The Simpsons has some great auxiliary.
Yeah, they have.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
When Mr. Burns, when there's episodes of Mr. Burns from like back in the day, like olden days, Mr. Burns, that's some of the funniest shit of all time in my mind.
On The Office, you would have on The Office, you would maybe have like Todd Packer in the early seasons had some good moments.
Rob Corddry, I was thinking about that guy. Yeah,
and he's never in it for more than like a minute at a time. But when you get a good Creed moment in The Office, like every time he's on camera, you're fucking laughing.
Yep.
Did you see what John Krasinski did the other day?
I did see that.
On Some Good News, he does this once a week, Some Good News segment where he's just trying to bring uplifting and fun stories. Well, he was talking about the amount of people that had to cancel their weddings, basically. So he was going to do a virtual wedding for some people. And so what he did was during the virtual wedding, he brought in Pam first. But then when he got the thing started, he brought in the whole cast of The Office, and they played the song. If you remember the episode in The Office where Pam and Jim finally get married, at the very end, they have a long dance sequence to the Chris Brown song. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like, I've been waiting my whole life for this one night. And they all do the dance for all these people. Like, it was cool over a Zoom call. Like, fuck, John Krasinski's probably the nicest guy in the world, right now.
Oh.
Do you have rankings? Nicest guy in the world rankings?
John Hamm, number 2.
The Hamaconda?
Just guys named John.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just guys named John, period, yeah.
Shout out to Steve.
Man, that question, I guarantee there's so many out there where you basically like are watching a show, and when that person comes on, you know it immediately is going to be good.
Yeah, I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine recently.
Just hold on. That's a good show, though. Who just sneezed?
I did.
Oh. You are on a podcast with 8 listeners, And you can't fucking coordinate not sneezing directly into your mic during a pandemic.
I'm sitting in my car. How can I not? I put my face in my shirt.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is hilarious.
Yeah, go on about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love that show.
When you're watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine and you get a Doug Judy episode, you know it's going to be golden.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good one. Like, out of the recent shows, he might be one of the best.
Yeah.
Who's the actor that plays him? I've never seen that show.
Craig Robinson, I think is his name, right? He was also in The Office.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Liz Lemon's boyfriend on 30 Rock.
Oh, the Vulture in
the Pager Citizen.
Yeah, he's good too.
The Pager King.
He's funny.
All right, guys.
I wanted to bring this up because was in Entourage, Johnny Drama. He wasn't the main character.
Yeah.
But it's not like he was funny. He would just always make me feel uncomfortable, but he did such a good job of it whenever he spoke.
Victory. My sleeper favorite TV character in a comedy is Erlich Bachman on Silicon Valley.
Oh.
That guy, when he gets revved up in that show, like I've watched some of those episodes 3 or 4 times and I'll catch shit and it's still so funny.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
I'm a big fan of Randy. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I'm a big fan of Randy Marsh on South Park.
Yeah.
Anytime Randy shows up in an episode, he's the best. Like there was one specifically where he is the punchline is he is Lord, the singer, and he goes through making process of singing Lord songs. He's the fucking best.
Buddy, I've watched that scene on YouTube to the point where it's hard to find it, but like I watch it. It is so good. I've watched it over 100 times. And it just shows he's like his son doesn't believe that he's Lord. He's like, so I just literally like film things I say in the bathroom, and then he plays the recording. He's like, yeah, getting drunk on a Wednesday, and then I was like, and then all I do is I just turn on the fader here, and then all of a sudden the beat kicks in, and he's like, and then I just change my voice to Lord. And he turns it over, and it's like exactly the song. And he fucking stands his face, and it is. Man, it's such a well-made scene.
Can you drop that in the article bag notes if you can find it?
You know I can. That's one of my favorite scenes too.
It's my favorite, but so good.
I've got another one, and it's Canadiana.
What? Oh, I know where you're going. I know where you're going to this.
J-Rock.
Yes.
From
TP Bizzle. Well done.
That's good, Paul.
That is good because you know what? He was really good whenever the show came on.
Yeah. He'd come
you know
on
what?
Say a few lines, you're like, what?
Maybe it's time to rewatch Trailer Park Boys for a laugh.
That might not be a bad way to kill some quarantine time.
That show is so fucking funny.
And the good thing is that it like holds up because of the fact that kind of like it'll always look the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you go back though to the early ones, I watched a clip of one the other day. And from an early season, they look way older now. Obviously,
that's
they've been living some hard yards.
Speaking about quarantine television, I finished Ozark last night.
Oh,
holy fuck!
What a great show!
Watched it? Have we all finished it now?
I have not watched it.
I haven't finished it.
Oh, well, then can't spoil it.
I'm about 5 episodes into the 3rd season, and I love that show.
I only meant to watch 1 episode last night, and I cracked out to 3. And stayed up late, and fuck did that end with a bang.
It's one of those. It's one of those episodes where you sit and you're watching the credits, and you're just like looking at the screen, and you're like trying to figure out if what you just saw is exactly what you just saw, and you have to like. I rewound it. I had to. I was like,
so did I.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what?
I was
even to the point where I watched it in like slow mo. Like I can slow mo my TV down. Oh,
those last 2 episodes were just so emotionally intense.
Yeah,
I can't wait. Oh, does that mean the Last Dance is up today too? It's Monday.
Last Dance.
Yeah.
Is that the last episode?
No, there's 4 more. 2 this week, 2 next week.
So then
I'll watch it.
Yeah, I think this week they get into some intensities with his teammates, and how he started to get really hard on. That's what I've heard, especially a guy named Scott Burrell.
We'll get into it on Thursday because it's starting to get a little bit of negative backlash, actually, but we'll dig into that at a later date.
Some of these gambling stories that are going around about Michael Jordan on Twitter, just as this has gone on.
What do you mean, for example?
So there's one that I'm going to fuck up the paper. It was like the Atlantic or the Guardian or something. Some guy told a story about golfing with Michael Jordan the day of a playoff game for the Bulls.
Yeah.
And they went up and they did like a $20,000 round. That's how much Michael Jordan was down after their first round of the day. And they started at like 6 a.m. or something like that. So he was pissed off and lost a bunch of money. So he says, no, we're going to do a second 18. So they were drinking beers and betting huge money. And he was down tens of thousands of dollars. So the guy jokingly says, you're playing a game tonight. We've been drinking Coors Lights all day. What are you going to do? I'm going to go ahead and bet all my money on the other team. And Jordan says, I'll bet you that I get at least 40 points and we win by 20. And then he goes out and pulls off one of the incredible Jordan-esque 45-point games, and they end up with a big win or something.
And he was drunk?
He had done 2 rounds of golf, so 36 holes, plus drank about 10 beers. So says the story. Like, I love this kind of shit coming out.
Yeah, that guy just needs an edge or adversity.
Yeah.
Because fuck, does that guy, like, all the stories aside, that guy was a fucking competitor. Holy shit.
So, like, Wanye, I know you love the business side of sports. So
you're damn right, son.
If you want to find out some interesting stuff, because I will basically do some research and let me know these answers, because I would really be curious to find out. But I've heard that Air Jordans are basically out of stock now online. You cannot get them. They're having their like research, like their second life, basically, like all these different shoes. They started to a little bit when Justin Timberlake wore them on the Super Bowl halftime show 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And like sales spiked of that certain Jordan shoe. And so they started to like, they put out a couple models, but like they never put out like the Jordan 1s, you know, and which is like the famous shoe from the 3rd or 4th episode where his feet are bleeding, but he was like, it was the first shoe he ever worn in Madison Square Garden. And he wanted to make sure it was the last shoe he ever wore in Madison Square Garden. So he wore these shoes that were super old and they just like, they made his feet bleed. But, I'd like this is the longest Nike commercial I've ever seen. Basically, like Nike's getting so much much out of this. I'd love to know what it's worth.
Oh, it's because of the documentary they've sold out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, there's even a hilarious part. There's a hilarious part early, like in one of the earlier episodes, where they talk about him signing that deal with Nike, and then Nike, and I'm going to fuck up the numbers, but their hope was like, we hope by the end of the year, we're going to sell like $4 million in shoes or something like that. And then it erupted to like $150 million.
Yeah, it was 132 or something like that. Yeah. And basically they were just like, we just hope that he sells a few fucking like few shoes. And sold so goddamn many. I love that part of it. Like the basketball's cool. The fact that he was a killer, that's cool. But not signing with Adidas, signing with them instead, it's just fascinating.
Have you read Shoe Dog, Chalmers?
What's that?
Have you read Shoe Dog?
No, I have it on Audible, waiting to listen to.
You should rock that, buddy. You'd love it. If you like those kind of stories, the stories of Nike's early days are insane.
Oh, the swings.
It's the Phil Knight book, right? Like, this is the Phil Knight book?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I have in Audible.
It's really good. Like, the story of that book obviously intersects with Jordan and how the company was in really dire straits, and then they bet big on Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Crazy. And then they they were losing, like, apparently Converse at the time had, like, the top 10 basketball players in the league, and Michael Jordan was good. If he signed with Converse, they said that you don't just jump to the front of the line. You were behind all the rest of them. Every single person had a commercial. So we didn't sign with Converse. But I believe I went shopping. I went on Nike.com last night just because I like looking at stuff on there, and they have they own Converse now. Okay, like
really?
You showed them.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
Little bitches,
Little bitches.
Little bitch Converse trying to lip us off. Woo, bitch.
The other thing, if you want to watch this tonight, think about how much they talk about his family. It's like zero.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Michael Jordan's family?
They talk about his mom.
Well, yeah, they introduce you to his mom and his dad, but they don't ever talk about stuff that happened at his house or like happened in his life. Or you don't meet his wives, you don't meet his ex-wife, you don't meet his current wife if you just don't know anything about them.
Well, probably his demands.
Probably
keep that shit private.
We'll dig more into it on Thursday.
Oh.
Your Remchuk, I want to plant a seed for Thursday. I want to talk and share about the current war I'm having in the alley behind my house.
Okay. So is that our teaser for Thursday?
Yeah, do we have to tease it? Now I'm curious. What the hell's happening in the back of your house?
Yeah, why don't you just tell us what's happening?
Well, you stay tuned to Real Life on Thursday, Chalmers, and you'll find out, buddy.
Wow.
I like that. All right. Big shout out to Japa Machinery.
I'll add one more. I'll add one more layer to it. It also involved us recording the events of what goes down behind our house last night, and so I'll be sharing some of the findings of that.
Oh God.
I'm very intrigued.
It is wild.
Gross.
All right, big shout out to Japa Machinery. As always, they're our fantastic sponsor. Thanks to you guys for giving us an hour today, and thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Thursday where Jay will tell us an alley story, I guess. Episode 179 of the podcast is over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from.